You're listening to Whispers of War.
Hello everyone and welcome to show number 14 of Whispers of War. I'm your host Sil and we finally can record normally because I'm on my computer. No more horrible background music except for, what I normally put in there. And my computer is not dying anymore. So I know, boring updates. So it basically was my CPU fan. And it has never really worked properly, so it seems. And now I have a double fanned air cooling system in there. It looks very, very tidy and neat, and it's doing the job. So my computer isn't overheating for 91 degrees anymore to, I think as soon as we tried it and installed it, it went to 27 max. So that's good. I can play all my games again. I can record again, and I should have no issues anymore with talking to guests. My system shouldn't lag out anymore. So yeah, business as normal, I guess. We can just resume with what we've always done. So finally a normal show. No interview yet this week, just because I haven't had the time yet, but I have planned in so many wonderful guests for you, so that is something to look forward to. So I'm just going to discuss what's been happening in my week, and we're not talking about the PC anymore, that's done. I actually, immediately, when the fan was working, I figured, I need to stress test the system a bit. Let's play some games. So I jumped back into World of Warcraft, and I saw that the buff is out there for WoW's 14th anniversary. So we all know that you get a little bit of a gift in the mail from Blizzard, from the dev team, and I saw it was 200 badges, I think, for, I don't know, time walking. I don't know what it is exactly, but anyway, I went to the historian in Stormwind because I was on my baby warlock, and went into Stormwind, saw that I had to hand in this quest that popped up, and then I could get an outfit for my little corgi, one of the battle pets, and I thought, why not? So if you don't have the corgi yet, you can actually get it from this NPC as well. You just have to answer also a lore question, and I actually really, really like those. I try not to cheat with them, but yeah, no, I enjoy those little tidbits that are in the game, so I got an outfit for my corgi. It's not an outfit, sorry. It's a toy that makes everything else looks like cute little corgis, so who wouldn't want that, That's something you need. Also, toys work towards achievements and things like that, I think, so I thought, might as well just get it, otherwise I won't do anything with it. Other than that, you also get a nice little buff booster. And that's how I'm going to call it. I don't know what it is, but it's just a little buff that will actually increase your experience gain by 14%. It's a bit weird number, 14. I guess it's because of the year, the 14th anniversary. So what, next year we're getting 15%? Maybe? I don't know. So I thought, that's going to be great for leveling. But also, for those out there, like me, who still haven't reached Exalted with all your reputations, it also gives you 14 experience increase gain. So I just thought, fuck it, I'm just going to use this on my rogue, because I'm very close to getting Exalted with the Honor Bound. I just need a few hundred more points, and I thought, I'll just use this buff and see if it helps. I mean, it's 14%. Every little bit helps, right? So, yeah, I'm almost there now. It's so close I can taste it. So I've decided that I'm going to do the reputation grind on my rogue. And then once that is done, I can then focus on the alliance side to get the reputation on. Because I do want to have every race available unlocked to me, but even if it's, hidden behind reputation and all that fun stuff, why not? So yeah, I thought I would do that, and that will keep me busy, no doubt. I'm just working on the Horde side first on Honorbound, and after that I want to work on the Zandalari rep, just because I think you will probably need that to have Exalted to unlock the Zandalari trolls. So that's... And then, you know, after that, I don't know, do we really need the other ones? Like, really, really need it? I don't know. Maybe for Flying, part 2, that whole Pathfinder part 2 bit, maybe everything needs to be Exalted. I'm not entirely sure, but why not? So, yeah, this buff will definitely help with that. And if I get sick and tired of rep grinding, then, you know, I'm just going to level all my other tunes with this buff, because it still adds up and it can still go quite quickly. Like I keep saying, every little bit helps. So, yeah, I just wish it was more than 2 weeks. I would like this to be here for maybe 2 months, especially over the Christmas period. That would be nice, when I have some time off and I can actually play 24/7. But yeah, I have to make the best in 2 weeks. But that's a little tip. If you were stuck on grinding reputation, or maybe even stuck on leveling, that's what you can do. So that's what I've been doing on the Baby Warlock. I also got accepted in the guild that I'm going to be in, hopefully soon, because I need to wait for an officer to actually invite me, and I've not really had luck yesterday with getting an invite, because there were no officers online for the entire evening. But I did get some names to prod people, so I'll just keep an eye out on that. But yeah, it's nice to be in a guild again once I'm in, of course. And that's all I've been able to do. I was just so happy being able to run in game again and just do some stuff and just feel like, yeah, this is normal. You know that they always say you don't know how much you're addicted to something until you lose it. At least that's what I think people say. Yeah, I had that. It's not that I don't have anything to do, because I filled my time with reading a lot of books. People who know me know that I have shit tons of books that I read, but I really missed gaming. I really did. I had to, not had to, but I was watching Dan play Red Dead Redemption 2 just because I needed some form of gaming, even if I have to do that through someone else. So I think he found it very, very horrible having me, you know, point things out, and I'm a backseat gamer. I'm horrible. So yeah, I think he's happy I'm back behind the computer now. So that's all I've been doing in gaming. But yeah, happy to be back. I'm really, really like itching to start playing again. Let's go to a bit of the topic of the week. So I know there was a lot of you know, with BlizzCon being there and Classic coming out, a lot of people have started to talk about the expansions and where they're at and everything. So I thought it would be good to have a little bit of a reflection of, you know, the expansions that we've had, and what was good about them, what was not so good about them. I mean, this is going to be my opinion. Anyone else can think different about that. And in all fairness, I've asked this question and you guys came back with so many answers. So I'll go through that in a bit. So I've been here since vanilla. Not continuous, I have to admit. I was there for every expansion that was released, but some expansions just grabbed me a bit more than others. I think with all of them I've always been very enthusiastic to begin with, and then some of them just held my attention much longer than the others. So I think for me, one of my favorite expansions, and I know this is going to sound a little bit controversial, is going to be the Burning Crusade. So the real reason for that is because it was the first time I actually experienced a expansion being released, you know, and a midnight launch. And I never really experienced that with a game, and there was so much hype around it. And so for me that was quite I don't know, it was just a really, really interesting experience and something I have very fond memories of. You know, when we all sat there and trying to get into the game, and you see that your login screen has changed, and it's actually the new login screen, and all of a sudden you get different music, and trying to get into the portal, which was of course a lag fest, and honestly, questing, just to start off with, it was horrendous because everyone was doing that first quest and trying to get the mobs, and it was just painful. It was really painful. It's so different now when you start, you know, with an expansion, but back then it was painful, and it wasn't a lot of fun. Things that would take you normally like a fraction of the time took so long now because you had to wait for spawns. And this was also when you would tag a boss, that was it. It was yours. It was untaggable for anyone else. I mean, look at how much we've progressed nowadays. You know, you don't have to wait for your faction to tag it, or even to just that you tag it. You don't have to group up anymore per se. So I think that we've come a long way, personally. But I do have fond memories of the Burning Crusade, especially when, you know, you are decked out in like really, really nice gear from Molten Core, from Blackwing. What is it, Blackwing Lair? And then you get the clown outfits, especially in Burning Crusade. It was awful. The colors were awful. And I don't know. It's still, when I see like old memes about it, or old comics from that time based on World of Warcraft, it just makes me laugh, just because there's so much stuff that you recognize from it. So I think, you know, TBC will always be one of those things that I will have very fond memories of, if only because there was all of a sudden there was that leveling again, and it wasn't that much easier like it was in vanilla. Leveling hadn't become easier at all. And of course we didn't have flying. So that was also a little bit like, okay, new areas to discover. It has all changed. It has all changed. If I have to pick from all the expansions that we have now, I think my favorite is actually this one. I actually really, really like Battle for Azeroth. And I think the main reason for that is I love the stories from both sides. I really like the art concepts and the design of the game. It suits so well. And, you know, everyone knows how much I like trolls, and having Zandalar for this expansion really just is like a fan service to me, really. But I think Kul Tiras is also really, really cool, and I really do like running around in that place because it is so beautiful. And I don't know, I think, you know, Battle for Azeroth has gotten some flack. Yeah. Will they do it perfectly? No, absolutely not. You know, they will make mistakes about the game. I mean, I think, yeah, we all know Azerite gear is not what everyone hoped it would be. But it's in my opinion, difficult to get something that will replace the class order halls and your legendary items, you know, those special weapons that you got. It's going to be hard to top that. But it could be much worse. It could really be much worse. So let's just jump into the whole which expansion didn't I like. Now this is going to be difficult because I dislike certain expansions for certain reasons. All of the expansions, when they started off, I loved them all because it was something new. It was something that would, you know, give you the opportunity to start leveling again, to experience a new story, see new places. You know, it just invigorated the game again a little bit. So I appreciate every expansion for what it is. Let's start with the one that a lot of people don't like. So, Cataclysm. Or as someone once said in the YouTube video, Cataclysm. So Cataclysm. I I don't hate Cataclysm, because looking at the amount of work that, the dev team put into this game, that is not a small feature. Yes, a lot of stuff went very wrong with this expansion, but also other things went really well. I mean, this was the expansion that they introduced 2 new races. The Worgen and the Goblins, and I really like those races. I think they did really well on them, except for the female Worgen, but thank God we're getting a new model for that. But yeah, we got 2 new races. The entire world had to be reshaped, and it is almost like the controversy with Teldrassil burning, the world tree burning now, when people saw that Darkshore was in ruins because of the whole Deathwing tsunami, I guess it was, and all of that. So yeah, it was not an easy feat to change the entire world. You had the events that Deathwing all of a sudden could show up, which you get a nice little achievement for, that you stood in the fire. But it gave something extra to the world, and I personally really, really enjoyed that. I mean, this was also the expansion that gave us flying in the old world. And we all know how passionate people get about their flying now. So it's not all bad. Yeah, there were some things that were wrong in Cataclysm. And I'll say that, I was the first person who said I don't want to play a healer anymore, because being out of mana as a Resto Druid as soon as one fight ended, and having to stop constantly to drink something, that was horrible. I really did not enjoy that. And they admitted that. They made some mistakes with the usage for mana in that expansion, and they did change it. But yeah, for a lot of people, that already ruined a lot of things. And I think that's why we got the, as some people call it, the Blood Pack. If you subscribed for 6 months, then you would get Diablo 3, you would get the Tyrael Charger, I think you got something else, but I can't remember what. And some people think that shows that it was a bad expansion. I don't know if it was, they are a company in the end. I guess they have to keep their business as usual. So yeah, Kata is one of those that, for me, I don't hate it, but I just don't really like the story. I think that it was the first one where we don't really have like a set story. I know that the Wrath of the Lich King expansion, we didn't have much about Arthas, and they had to come up with what was going to happen afterwards, but it wasn't too difficult to build on Arthas' story. Whereas with the whole Deathwing scenario and the dragons aspects, I didn't connect with it at all. I didn't care. I didn't care for Thrall being, not his warrior anymore and pure shaman now. It didn't really do anything for me. And I lost interest in raiding that expansion completely. Firelands was not something I had any interest in. I didn't like it. Meh. Not my expansion. I was okay with Mists of Pandaria. I really was, but for me, I always call it the Token Asian expansion, because a lot of other games have that expansion that comes out that's really based on like Japan or China, and I felt a little bit like that with this expansion. But it's not that I disliked it, it's just not, again, something that didn't really resonate with me. I thought it was beautiful. I have nothing against Pandaren, if I'm honest. I really don't. It just, the story, again, didn't really click with me. I did like certain things that they put in there. Again, it's probably the troll bits that I really enjoyed. But other than that, the Mogu and things like that, and the Shah, I think having the Shah as the big bads, no, I just didn't like them that much. I can't put my finger on it why, but I just didn't think they were that interesting as a villain for me. Whereas what we see now with the old gods, that is something that I do find really, really interesting. And I think it's probably because of the whole H.P. Lovecraft vibe that you get with that. And the Void Lords. Didn't have much with the villains in Legion, if I'm honest. So that's where I stand with all of them. I the one thing that people will always moan about, you know, either Cataclysm or Warlords. So Warlords of Draenor. I don't think it started off bad at all. I think, again, it started off quite strong, but they didn't finish very strong. And I think Warlords, personally, I've never been a fan of going back in time to have an alternate timeline. I've never enjoyed that. But we got some really good characters from that. I mean, the fact that, you know, we got Irel, who we still have to see what happens in this expansion with her, because there are so many rumors. We got Irel, and I think she was really, really cool. And then I think the continent of Draenor was not bad at all. I just think that the instances lacked something. I just didn't find them interesting. And what I always hate, and Warlords was notorious for that, were the shortcuts in dungeons. You know that when people go, oh no, we can, you know, especially like in, oh, what is it, that one with the plants, the Botanica or something? No, that's Burning Crusade, but something like that. That everyone goes, oh, we can go up here, and if you climb this wall, and it sometimes takes more time to climb that freaking wall than actually just killing the mobs and just be done with it. That's the thing that, you know, adds that little bit of extra stress because your group wants to do that. Luckily, I was okay with what I, you know, once you pay attention to where people go up and you try and do it, it helps. But when you're just new and you have no idea what people are doing, it's very intimidating, I think, personally. So I don't like that. And I got the feeling with Warlords that people pushed more and more and more for speed and just to get it over with. And like I said, I found the dungeons very, very boring. Just not atmospheric at all for me. Didn't care too much about the story once I've played through it once. I was a bit like, yeah, okay, don't really care for so many orcs now. It's orcs, orcs, orcs. Didn't feel like the Draenei really played that much of a role. I know this sounds awful, but I really don't think it did. And yeah, I just Tanaan Jungle had some very good things. I think so. These are the things I think that Warlords did well. You know how everyone is bitching about the reputation at the moment for BFA. Back in Warlords, you actually got these tokens that cost a lot of gold, but they dropped from the rares, and you could increase your reputation to get the Pathfinder achievement if you wanted to. In all fairness, that's how I did it. I just thought, you know what, I have enough gold, I'm just going to buy all these rep tokens and just do it that way because I cannot be bothered to grind for rep. So that's how you could do it. I also like the fact that you could easily gear up your alts by just killing these rares and just seeing if they dropped any gear or loot or tokens or whatever to get the gear that you needed. I think that was a really good system. The problem was, again, that like with Siege of Orgrimmar, for instance, it just took too long. Their pacing was all off. And I think that with Legion, they finally got the pacing right. I think in vanilla, people didn't realize how much could change in the game. I think people were very much like, oh, okay, so this is how it works. That's really cool. I remember being really enthusiastic about a freaking rain patch. I mean, like, honestly, now it would be like the selfie thing. People would be like, that's the patch? Wow. That we waited all that time for a selfie camera. But back then, you know, it was just like, wow, it's another change. This is so amazing. It's small things, and I think sometimes we lose a little bit of track of that. I think we are quite spoiled now as players with what they do, and you know, at a certain point, I always feel a bit like we're like Dudley in Harry Potter when he counts his Christmas presents and is like, I only got 13 presents this year. Last year I got like 25. You know, it's a little bit, how spoiled can you be? And I do think as consumers, and because some of us have aged now at that point that you do want certain things for your money, I do think we have to keep in mind that, considering that it's still a great game, in my opinion, and I still play it and I still enjoy it. Yeah, some things could be better, but some things could also be a lot worse. So for me, I'm actually quite happy where we are with this this expansion. And also, hopefully, with what's to come. I mean, they spoiled a little bit in 8.1 and 8.2 and 8.1.5. I mean, in between patches. That's really, really interesting. I like that. Yeah, I guess we'll see what the future brings. For me personally, like I said, I'm quite happy where the story is being taken. I'm not a fan of the rep grind. I hope that they will change something with that, but it's not unachievable. It's just not a lot of fun, because I personally do not enjoy doing world quests for rep. I will do it because, you know, I'm a completionist and I want these races to be unlocked, but I'm just not enjoying it, unfortunately. It's fine when you're working your way through the world, questing, leveling, and you get your reputation that way, but once you start to rely on the world quests to get your reputation from that, it's a lot less fun, in my opinion. So yeah, that's my opinion on all the expansions. I'm just trying to rack my brain where I was with all of the launches. One thing that has changed for me was that, whereas maybe 14 years ago, not 14 years, but you know what I mean, with the first couple of expansions, I would take the day off, or even a week off if I had to, and I would sit up until midnight, until the launch started, and I would try and play, persevering through the lag and the disconnects and all that fun stuff. Whereas nowadays, I'm very happy to wait a few days until it has cleared up with any issues that might be there, you know, your lag, bugs, anything like that. And then I just play whenever I have the weekend or an evening. So it has changed a lot. And I do feel like that magic for me is a little bit gone. But I'm just wondering if that's because I'm old and I need my sleep and I can't stay up that late anymore. I don't know. I don't know. It's a shame. I don't feel like that anymore. I don't think I have that with any game anymore. Because I remember even doing it with Diablo when that came out. And we got that era, I think it was 404. I think no one could log in. But yeah, I don't have that anymore. So I'm curious to know if you guys still have that. If you are that hyped for the start of an expansion. I mean, they have improved with their lag and disconnects and all of that. I mean, the fact that we had a worldwide launch this time around with this one, that is impressive. I think that's very impressive, because I remember the days when Encourage opened and the world just disconnected. Hell, even when okay, this is a little bit different. So back in vanilla, I don't know if you remember the shimmering flats. I think that was it. Was it 1,000 needles? So that, you know, in vanilla, that was not water. It was just a big area with nothing there. I think the racing course was there as well. And I was on an RP PvP server, and on the forums was posted that there was going to be a massive battle between Alliance and Horde players. And everyone was really enthusiastic because it was all, you know, a big PvP thing that was going to happen. So everyone showed up, but the servers couldn't handle the volume of people in that place with all the spell effects and everything, and that part of the world died. So everyone got disconnected. I remember friends saying who weren't there that they were on the boat from one continent to the next, and all of a sudden the boat disappeared, it reappeared somewhere completely different in the mountains, and everyone died. So yeah, I think, you know, when it comes to stability issues and all of that, they've made such big steps. I'm just hoping that their story, which is like very important to me, like probably the most important thing to keep me playing this game, I hope that the story will stay really strong. It does feel like they have people on board like Christy Golden, and you know, I really do feel like their team of writers has become a lot stronger. And yeah, I just hope that they will keep surprising us. So let's go with what all of you said. You know, I asked which was your favorite expansion. Let's start with that part first. So Jordan's said Legion. It's the only X-Pack I've played other than BFA, and it's too early in BFA to judge. Fair enough. That's fair enough. Who aggroed that said the favorite expansion for me was Wrath. Wrath was the first time I'd hit max level, and I was playing a Death Knight, so I'd gone from that 55 to 80 just for that expansion. The worst? Tie between Cataclysm and Warlords. I hated the zones, the dungeons, the class changes in Cata, and Wood gave us garrisons. Ew. Now actually I know that some people really enjoyed the garrisons. I was alright with the garrisons, I didn't really enjoy managing it, you know, the micromanagement of it. That's the one thing I'm shit at, like sim games like that. I'll probably kill everyone off in like Stardew Valley or something like that. Blinding Poet said, I loved Warlords of Draenor. Content drought and all. The leveling experience was great, setting up what Legion and BFA would perfect. The characters were awesome, the zones unbelievably beautiful, and my laptop could play decently, so that's a plus. Favorite expansion, probably Burning Crusade. My main was a Blood Elf for the longest time, and Outland was awesome for my tiny mind. Oh, don't say you have a tiny mind. The least favorite? Legion. If only because my laptop struggled so much to run it. It was barely playable and I couldn't even begin to enjoy it. There have been highs and lows, but even the bottom has had enjoyable and memorable moments. This is really one of the best games out there. That is such a good way of describing it. And you know what? I can imagine if, you know, I have heard so many people lament the fact that their computers couldn't play from Legion on anymore because it actually didn't do a really massive upgrade to ask from the systems to have better graphics card, more RAM. I think they upped all the settings, didn't they, with that expansion. So yeah, I understand that it was a bit like harsh for people to start investing, especially when you have a laptop. That must be killer. I mean, I already hated that I had to upgrade some of my components in my computer now. So, yeah, I can only imagine. Jarvinator said, Mist of Pandaria was my favorite because it was the first expansion I played at current level, and first expansion I raided in. I may try Classic, but I enjoy the current game too much. And the worst expansion was Warlords. I mean, time travel to Orkland? No thank you. I am so with you there. I'm not a fan of Orkland. I like the introductions that you got in Warlords, but at a certain point it was just, yeah, I'm done now. And I was happy that you could skip it in Mist of Pandaria, you know, when you went to the little island and a cave and then sat at the fire, and you could skip that whole to begin with for Warlords. But I didn't really enjoy it. Ryakan said, worst was Wood and best was Legion. Even if the story of Arthas is the best of the Warcraft universe. I'm just now finishing up the Horde campaign in BFA, and questing for Zandalar is way more enjoyable than Kul Tiras. Nazmir is a great zone, with Vol'dun a close second. The Totolan are the best race in Warcraft lore ever. Sorry, Taliesin and Evitel, they beat Tuskar by a pinch. You know, I actually quite like the Tortolans. I like the Tuskar, but I think I'm with Ryakan on this. I think the Tortolans are a bit better than the Tuskar. Exclavier said, Mob remains 1 and Legion is 1A only because I came back to the game at the end of Legion. Mob is when I joined the CTR guild and made lots of friends and had great raiding teams throughout. I took a break after afterward and then loved the order halls and artifact weapon and content of Legion. I hear a lot of people came back with Legion, so and I think the order halls were probably one of the reasons, or maybe Illidan's pecs, I don't know, that could have been it. Sim Donut, love that name, said I'd have to say Wrath of the Lich King, but only because I left in Kata and didn't come back till right before BFA. I'm really sad I missed Mob, but it looks like it was awesome, and that would have been my number one. I liked, like, I'm not dissing on Mist of Pandaria. I think it was beautiful. I loved the music. Like I said, just the Shah didn't do much for me. Not really that interested in it. Miss Gillian said, Panda is my favorite expansion. That's when I joined the game. Next is Wrath of the Lich King, though I didn't play it at all. I played at level all the lore made is awesome. Legion is third. Darkspear Revolutionary Liger Wolf, social-wise, Wrath. Everything else? Pandaria. Okay, fair enough. Social. I wonder why social-wise. Was it because you were like in the guild that you loved? Did people leave after Wrath? Alluvia said it was Burning Crusade until Legion, and now that has my top spot. I love the class stories. Surmar was brilliant in my opinion. Each zone was gorgeous, and the stories and music in each place made them come alive. You're the first person I've heard, being positive about Burning Crusade, but I'm happy I'm not the only one who really likes Burning Crusade. Zira, the Murloc Mama, I will forever be in love with Wrath. The story around Arthas was amazing. How everything built up to this epic fight against the Lich King was insane. I'll never forget how fearful I was doing House of Reflection for the first time with Arthas chasing you. You know what, girl? You and me both. Like, I remember that constant anxiety, like, oh my god, we need to get this wall down because he's coming. Yeah, that's a good one. See, that's what I feel like dungeons were interesting and cool. I just don't get it that much anymore. And in all fairness, I've not given the dungeons in BFA a fair shot because I've hardly played them. So far, I think they're alright. But yeah, some of those classic dungeons there's so much atmosphere in it. Also, she continues, also Grizzly Hills and Invincible. Yeah. I love Grizzly Hills in Wrath of the Lich King. That's the only time I've started to play with the music again with this expansion, but with Wrath of the Lich King, that was always one of the areas I love listening to the music. I don't know what it is. I think it's the fiddle, just hearing the violin. I love it. I really, really enjoyed Grizzly Hills. And there was something very eerie going on when you played Alliance. When you go to that settlement, that is not all it seems to be. That was really, really one of those, I don't know, almost horror movie experiences. I loved it. And, of course, Invincible, still the mount that eludes me. In all fairness, I haven't run it in forever. I just can't be dealing with Ice Cream Citadel at the moment. Wanted by Gold said, every expansion has been an improvement over the previous in every way. So, yeah. That's not a bad way to end it, in all fairness, when it comes to the expansions, because I think we've learned they've made improvements with every expansion. Sometimes it didn't work, but it's not as if they left those things in there. Not for long. I mean, they tweaked everything. I'm sure that we'll get tweaks for Azerite gear, and they said that they're not happy with how it's working out. They don't want to lose their player base. They will try and fix all the things that people are not happy about. And in all fairness, I think this is the time now that it actually does show that Blizzard is starting to listen to its fan base and its player base. So I wouldn't despair. And, again, if you're really not happy, no one is forcing you to play this game. No one is saying you have to play this game. Just take a break. take a break and come back with either a next expansion or next patch. Maybe then it's something for you. And if it's not, everything runs its time. You don't have to stay with this game forever. But yeah, don't dwell on something that you're not enjoying. Then just do something else. That's my advice, at least. When you don't enjoy an expansion, that's what I did with Kata. I went away, even after signing that Bull Pact. I just went away, played some other games, and then when Pandaria hit, I was enjoying it again. So why not give it a go? Nothing is stopping you from trying different things. Now, I also wanted to know where you guys were when the expansions went live. So, like I said a little bit before, I've done a few midnight launches. I never stood in line for a midnight game. I always send out, oh, this is so bad. I send out other people to stand in line for me to get the game at midnight. I think it wasn't Burning Crusade, because Burning Crusade I actually got the collector's edition. I've been very lucky. I've had collector's editions for all of them. I remember buying vanilla, just a normal vanilla game, and then I went to this toy shop, and at the bottom of the like in the basement, this sounds so dodgy, in the basement was more where they had the games, and I saw 2 boxes of the collector's edition of vanilla. I bought one. I regret now not buying the second one, if only to sell later on. But I bought the first one, I really, really enjoyed it, and then I kept pre-ordering the collector's edition from that shop, and they always had one. So I picked up my collector's edition the next day. I can't remember if I got it a day early or something, that the shop already had it. But I remember that I thought I should not be playing this already. Because back in the day, I don't think you had an early launch without the code. But I think the shop gave me their copy a bit too early. That's, we're talking about like 12 years ago. So my brain is a little bit like, I think that was happening. Because I remember having to wait at the portal, seeing it go off, and I think Demons came out, and it just, I think I gave up after like an hour or something, and I thought, no, I can't do this. This is not fun for me, and everything lagging. But yeah, I think that was it. And after that, I always managed to get the collector's edition, also because I had friends working at Game in the UK, so they always held back a collector's edition copy, even though it wasn't really allowed. They did that. So there was a midnight launch. I think it was for Cataclysm and for Mr. Pandaria. And after that, it stopped for me. I just thought, nah, I'll order it and I won't have to think about it again. Now, I was very lucky with Cataclysm not Cataclysm, Warlords of Draenor, that Blizzard actually gave it to me. That was the lovely Olivia Grace, who made sure that I got a copy of the collector's edition, which was lovely of her to send it to me. And I got a collector's edition for Legion. Did not wait for the midnight launch at all, but I was one of those suckers that ordered a digital code and then decided, no, actually I want a collector's edition. I think this is the first time I did not do that. I didn't wait for a midnight launch with BFA. I didn't even take many days off to play it. I think just because, one, I'm older. That's not saying that everyone who is my age should be like that, but it's just for me. I value my sleep a lot more because I get grumpy without my sleep. And I don't know, I don't put that value on playing the first couple of moments as soon as it's out anymore. I don't feel like I need to race to the maximum level. I just don't have that anymore. And I even didn't buy a collector's edition this time. It was all digital because I can't be bothered with... we have something called... I don't know if the USA has this, but we have this company called Yodel, who is notoriously bad for losing your packages. And, they fling it in gardens. They lose it, quote unquote. And then, you know, when you try to call their helpline, they are a bunch of idiots. I'm really sorry if you work for Yodel, but wow, I've never had to say so many times, but that wasn't my question. My question was, and you get a bog standard reply that doesn't even say, you know, it doesn't even give you the answer close to what you're asking. So I was kind of done with getting a very expensive box delivered to my house. Yeah, not impressed with that. So I thought, you know, in the stress of having something delivered to my house, I'd rather just get a digital collector's edition, and I have not regretted it once. I really am happy with that. So unless we get something amazing in the box next year, which for me would be an art book, I am not... Why do I say next year? Why am I so convinced we're getting an expansion next year? It's not happening, is it? Then maybe. So if we get another expansion in the next couple of years, is that more reasonable? That has an art book in the collector's edition and a mouse mat, because that's very important to me as well. Then yeah, I'll get it. But this year, it was not for me. It was just not for me. Oh, damn this responsibility with money nowadays. But anyhow, where were you guys? So with all of these expansions, you know, I tried to be there at launch for the first half of them. And then after, I think, Mists of Pandaria, it just fizzled out for me. I just was there later. But where were you guys? So, Blinding Poet said, I was online farming ICC when suddenly Khadgar asked me to go to Dalaran for Legion. I honestly had forgotten the date. Hey, it can happen. I can see that happening quite easily when you know, you're so engrossed in what you're doing. When you say ICC, were you trying to get Invincible? Did you get it? That's a different question. Jordan said, I was on for BFA launch. I remember a good bit of lag and Storm Rage not working for a few hours. It was fun though. Yep, I'm not going to share that sentiment of the fun of lag and all of that, and the servers being down. But, Exclavier, I was on for Warlords and remember the lag being horrible after traveling through the gate. Still enjoyed being on for the experience, but when I went through later with an alt, I realized there were many things I never saw due to the massive people all on together. Yeah. Can you guys remember, if you've played at the Warlords launch, how everyone was around Khadgar and we all tried to click Khadgar and we couldn't because everyone was on their freaking mammoth mounts? And it was like, okay, where is he? I think if I angle it like this, my camera and my mouse, yeah, I think I got him now. So those were the fun days, right? Remember all of that? I think we had a little bit of that with the Murloc egg that we could find to get the baby Murloc battle pet. When everyone stood on the egg and tried to click it, and nightmare, absolute nightmare. But yeah, it's one of those things, I guess. It also puts a little bit of charm in the game. Anyhow, thank you so much for all your replies. I couldn't have made a show without you guys, really, because it would have been a very short show again. Next week we will have interviews again. So I'm very, very excited for that. For next time, I want to know, and I've already talked a little bit about my opinions, and I will go deeper into that. I want to know everything about the villains in World of Warcraft. So, who is your favorite villain? Who's your least favorite villain? And why? I want to know why. Not just throw names at me, you know. But this could even be more like a group. You know, you don't have to just go, oh, Deathwing or Arthas. If you think that actually the Scarlet Crusade, and then you go to, you know, oh no, I think this person or this quest giver, or why not, you know, you don't have to pick the big bads. Maybe there's someone out there that you're like, you know what, this NPC was really, really evil. I hated this guy. or I had to kill this mob. Maybe even Edwin von Cleef, for instance. You know, maybe you didn't like him. all those things. I just want to know about the villains in World of Warcraft and your favorites, your least favorites, surprising ones, maybe ones that you thought, oh no, actually they're good. Oh wait, actually they're kind of bad. Just let me know. Let me know, and we will discuss all of that next week. Thank you again for all your patience, especially with the computer issues, but hopefully now they are fixed. So you can contact the show on the website, of course, whispersofwar.podbean.com if you want to listen to all shows and want to see show notes. Want to contact me, you can do that on Twitter at whispers_of_war. Or you can email the show whispersofwarpodcast@gmail.com in case your reply needs to be a lot longer and Twitter is not enough for your reply. You can do that there. I'm wishing you all so much fun in Azeroth. Make use of that buff if you still need to level and do some rep grinding. You only have 2 weeks, and I will see you next week. Bye bye!